Hello again, and welcome back to our final class in the Revenue Operations Fundamentals Certification course. This final lesson, all about strategic blending, cross team support, and using multiple GTM motions, is all about reviewing how these pieces truly fit together. Today, we're going to focus on two major connected ideas. We're going to talk through how exactly marketing, sales, and customer success help each other and support each other with these GTM motions. And we're going to talk about why blending motions or using more than one is a crucial strategy for maximizing growth and efficiency. Then we're going to wrap it all up and tie it back to our revenue operations foundation. We're going to connect this entire GTM discussion back to the foundational building blocks of our revenue operations, our data model, and the customer journey. Then we're going to tie a nice, neat little bow on all this, and I'm going to wish you luck on implementing your own revenue operations fundamentals. So let's get to the final stretch and talk about how it all blends together. In our last class, we broke down how the focus of the RevOps team changes based on your primary GTM motion. But the whole system only works if the teams are supporting each other. Think of your revenue teams as 3 or 4 or 5 powerful engines in a single high-performance race car. They all need to work in sync to win the race. So let's look at how these engines, specifically, I'll talk through marketing, sales, and customer success. Let's talk through how those three support each other and how that changes depending on the primary GTM of your company. So let's start out with marketing's support role. Again, marketing is the ultimate engine of demand. No matter which GTM motion is primary, marketing's job is to fill up the top of funnel and pull in new customers. Whether that funnel needs leads or product signups or simply brand awareness, the goal of marketing is to drive recognition of your product and lead people to purchase. So for product, let's break it down by the sales motions we talked about last time. For product-led growth and even for one stage, marketing support is typically broad inbound marketing and general awareness. Since in this case, the product or a single rep handles the sale, marketing focuses on efficiently generating a high volume of leads and getting them into the product or to the sales rep quickly. Again, we want to think about removing friction, removing barriers to entry, especially for lower price point products and services. Think about organic content, broad social media campaigns, and SEO to maximize reach. That's what marketing is going to be focused on and how they're going to support for these go-to-market motions. When it gets to two-stage, it's still all about inbound and brand awareness, but this is where marketing starts getting a little more focus. They're still going to do inbound, but they're going to provide higher quality, better qualified leads, ideally for the business development reps to qualify and hand off to those AEs. So in this case, marketing supports by creating more targeted content, things that the BDRs can use for their outreach and prospecting and help the BDRs spend their time more wisely prospecting and help hand them more qualified results. Marketing supports field sales in a slightly different way. Field sales is more defined by geography, so marketing supports more localized efforts. Whether that is shifting their focus to actual localized events or just running regional and ad campaigns or creating materials tailored specifically to those regions or those industries, marketing is going to focus more here on tailoring the messaging. They're going to provide more account-based marketing functionalities for the sales representatives. Then for the enterprise sales motion, the marketing is going to ultimately shift to very strategic messaging. Marketing is not generating a high volume of leads. In fact, they've already got a preset finite amount of leads. Their goal here is to make sure that your product stays top of mind and to really generate highly personalized engagement for that small finite list of target companies. In this case, it's quality and precision and making sure that you're staying relevant over any notion of volume. Sales is usually thought of as the closer, and in a lot of these motions, they are, but their function is vital in not only supporting other motions when needed, but also knowing clearly and specifically exactly what their process is. So, let's start out with the PLG motion. In a pure PLG company, sales might only step in to handle support for upgrades for the very largest, most complex accounts that scale beyond self service. If that's the case, then their job is to ensure that the friction free, low ACV movement can transition seamlessly into a high ACV, high touch sale when needed. Or an actual sales team may not be needed here at all for very specific, pure PLG companies, but you would still need sales materials. You would still need the product itself to have the capability to show itself off and to answer any questions that come along. One stage, okay, yes, sales here is going to own the full sales cycle from qualification to close. What's important here is that sales knows it's the jack of all trades role, needs to have the process in place, the documentation in place, and clear knowledge to be able to handle any objections and handle every step of the customer journey. In two stage, again, this is where handoff and knowing exactly what the process is going to be crucial. Sales owns this. So the most important piece here is knowing what their goal is, that their goal is to develop leads and build strong relationships with consistent interaction over time. In this case, the sales team's success is tied to their regional relationships and their ability to become trusted advisors. Then for enterprise sales, the sales team is empowered to leverage large, pre identified known accounts. So the goal for the sales team here is not about hunting new leads or qualifying leads. It's about systemically engaging every key stakeholder within those predetermined accounts. So again, it's crucial for the team to know exactly what their process is and also exactly what their goal is for this motion. Now let's talk about customer success, and this is where we're going to get back into more of the support role. So for customer success, as the GTM motion changes, support shifts from being purely reactive to being more proactive and a strategic advisor as the complexity of the account increases. Starting with PLG motions, customer success will only support by creating community or knowledge bases so that users can self serve. Again, the goal here is to create as much content and resources as possible so that there's no friction and the customers can self serve, reducing the cost of support. For one stage sales motions, customer success is typically going to be characterized by having a help desk or call center. It's going to be focused on monitoring that help desk and efficiently resolving issues. It's still largely reactive support, but it's a little more customized and personalized. Typically, this is where customer success teams will have service line agreements, SLAs, in place so that if, say, a question comes into the help desk, you know that it's going to be resolved within 2 hours or 2 business days, depending on your volume. Then supporting two stage, customer success will come in and they might actually own their own industry or region, developing a deeper understanding of customer needs and focusing on smooth onboarding and bringing themselves into the sales conversation earlier to monitor and maintain smooth handoffs. Customer success teams come in and support field sales teams, honestly, most often by mirroring the field sales approach. They support sales with their own region or industry to ensure seamless handoff of the sale and maintaining the localized relationship. And then that gets even more specific and strategic with enterprise sales. With enterprise sales, customer success teams typically come in and actually are a strategic advisor who own their own accounts right alongside the AE. They're just as focused on driving maximum value, leading the customers to major upsells or critical renewals so that they can maintain that smooth relationship, know everything there is to know about the customer, and really keep the handoff transition as smooth as possible. This is all critical for a high retention rate. Now, with all three teams supporting each motion, you can see how easily these motions start to blend together. And for most modern companies, blending motions or having more than one GTM motion, it's not just common, it's crucial for success. Multiple go-to-market motions are critical for any businesses that have diverse product lines. But ultimate strategic clarity is only attainable when those GTMs are efficiently aligned and carefully tracked, monitored, and reported on. Combining GTM motions is key to maximizing growth. Imagine a company like HubSpot, which I've referenced many times. HubSpot has not only a wide range of products, but also multiple tiers of each of those products. They have everything from their content hub to a full enterprise level suite of marketing tools. And they also offer multiple GTM motions to ensure that there's as little friction as possible. No matter where you want to enter their product, you can. A customer can start with the free PLG motion by signing up for the free tools and start experiencing that value first. Or if a company needs more of a paid, like mid-market solution, they can actually go through the two-stage, the sales-led growth. They can go through and actually start engaging with a BDR, determine what package is right for them, and then be handed off to an AE. Depending on whether they started out by engaging the two-stage motion from the very beginning or started out with the PLG motion, it's crucial to know exactly how they came in the door and to ensure that these two motions operate together. So, for example, if a customer did come in from the PLG motion, the in-app behavior would be used by a business development rep or by the sales team to monitor that customer and recognize when they are ready to upgrade, or if they've already requested an upgrade, that same in-app behavior would be used by the BDR to determine and develop which solution is best for them. Similarly, when that same customer is fully integrated and starts asking for even more advanced features, the customer success team is going to be pulling in for support. Their dedicated CSM will identify those expansion opportunities and begin the upsell conversation to an even higher tier. This flow is why ultimate strategic clarity is only attainable when those GTMs are efficiently aligned. You have to know exactly what each team is doing, and every motion has to work perfectly in sync with each other to ensure that there's no friction or gaps or things slipping through the crack. Again, the key here is to eliminate friction and allow people to experience and enjoy your products as quickly as possible. You want people, no matter which GTM motion that they use to get there, you want people onboarded, using your product, using your service, paying you that money as quickly as possible. So just how do those GTM motions work together? I already gave kind of a high level, but let's look in depth at an acquisition flow. It's actually two acquisition flows to see how they would work together. So up at the top, you have the flow of a customer coming in via a PLG motion. At the bottom, you have the flow of a customer coming in from marketing efforts and handed off through a sales motion. Here, I've just got a one-stage sales motion outlined below. Let's look at this in depth. The way that I would map, if as a revenue operations strategist, the way that I would really get familiar with the go-to-market motions of a company like HubSpot is that I would start mapping out the exact acquisition flow just like this. So I would start with, okay, let's look at your PLG motion. Tell me, how does a lead come in the door? Well, they sign up for a free trial. Okay, great. What happens once they've been using that free trial for a little while? Does the free trial automatically upgrade them? Do they opt to upgrade? Let's say the lead upgrades to a higher tier via self service. Great. What happens next? Well, there we've got a branch. It could be that the customer success team sends a renewal reminder first, or they could see marketing outreach first. Either way, both of these things are going to happen, and it'll just depend on which one the customer sees first. But we do have these two support teams coming in. Marketing is going to target outreach to make sure that we're showing off the features of the product at an even higher tier. And customer success is going to be monitoring that renewal date to make sure that they're reaching out and letting the customer know, hey, these are the options available to you. Then we get our decision, our little decision triangle here. So this is where the customer has to decide on what option they want. They could choose to not upgrade. So you see that in the top there, that green. No, I don't want to upgrade. In that case, the customer maintains their current package and the flow ends. Or the customer could decide, yes, all of this sounds great. I would like to upgrade. In that case, then, sales is going to need to take ownership because what we've outlined here is that for the higher tiers, sales owns the GTM. So in that case, the flow then would transition. It's no longer the PLG flow. It's going to be handed off, and you'll see it there. It goes into where sales accepts the handoff and is handles outreach then to get them to the next level. So this is where your sales flow would pick up. From there, the deal would be created, they would move it through the pipeline, the contract would be signed, and then they would be handed off, right? There's an alternative flow, though, that the free trial never was involved. It can operate as seamlessly if marketing identifies a new lead and qualifies them. If they came in because they're of marketing outreach, right? Maybe a form sign up or a webinar. And then that lead was handed off to sales, and sales owns from start to finish. Then sales handles the outreach, creates the deal, and moves them through the pipeline. They sign the deal, and then they're handed off to customer success. So either way they came in, whether it was sales all the way down there at the bottom, or if they started out on their own and then were transitioned to sales, the key here is to map every single step to know exactly where the friction could be and to ensure that each of these processes is working smoothly together. This blending of GTM motions is the ultimate goal of a RevOps strategy. You want to offer the customer the lowest friction, most efficient path to purchase that works for them. And you want to ensure that as they grow and require a more complex solution, the handoff is seamless. Your job as a revenue operations professional is to map, document, and measure the transition points between these motions. If the handoff from a BDR to a CSM, for example, is messy, the customer experience suffers and your retention will take a hit. The goal of RevOps is to make these handoffs friction free. As we wrap up our revenue operations fundamentals course, I want to bring it all back to our starting point, your revenue operations foundation. Remember our building blocks, the business model and maturity, your GTM motions, systems, data, et cetera, right? The reason we've spent so much time on GTM motions is that your motion dictates your data model and your entire strategy. Every team sets GTM goals, but very few set the right ones. Here's the hard truth. Every go-to-market team has one crucial goal: defining and measuring success in a way that aligns with the overall revenue strategy. And the reality is, they may think they're doing it well, but most of them are not, because it all comes back to clearly mapping your data and being able to not just visualize, but action that data. to not just see the story that it's telling, but be able to draw strategic conclusions from the story that you're getting. Your GTM motion and strategy are crucial for your selling, but your RevOps team is responsible for measuring it, and your data model is crucial for that. Your goals must directly align with the revenue flow. For example, if your motion is product led growth, your goal isn't just more users. It has to be specific and it has to be drawn from your data model. Again, if you're using the revenue performance model, you need to be able to really drill into a goal such as increase feature A adoption by users from tier 1 by 10% this quarter, because feature A is the known trigger for a typical upgrade. You have to have measurable events within the customer journeys. Did a lead attend a webinar? Did the user exceed 80% of their usage for the free quota? Did an account log a health score below 70? These are actual milestones that signal a necessary transition or action, and these should all be mapped in your data model. This is where the rubber meets the road. You can call something a sales qualified lead all day long, but if you can't tie that status to clear automated triggers and stages within your model, you're just guessing. Your data model has to be the single source of truth that ensures that everyone is pulling toward the same goal. Again, this is just a template, but let's look at this using the RPM. This one's the non-recurring revenue because it's a little bit of a simpler visual, but let's look at how goals would be mapped through this flow. You should be seeing things like conversion rates from sessions to leads to MQLs to SQLs. Again, define these based on your GTM motion and your customer journey. Make sure that they're specific, that they're accurate, and that they reflect the actual processes and the revenue journey that goes through your personal model. If you can't tie your key performance indicator to clear triggers, you'll never know whether the numbers are good, bad, or really bad. Your revenue performance model, your data model, relies on your GTM strategy to define the metrics at every single stage. The entire thing ties back to your customer journey. Let's take an example. Again, let's use a product led growth example. If you have your primary GTM motion is PLG, then the metrics you'll track will be usage data or upgrade triggers. For example, your RevOps team will build the data infrastructure to track feature adoption, time in app, energy consumption, like our Duolingo example, or key product milestones that signal an upgrade opportunity. In this case, your definition of a qualified lead would be defined by in-app behavior, and that behavior would have a trigger to signal an upgrade. Let's use another example. If your primary GTM motion is sales-led growth, then the key metrics you track will be focused on your sales process, your activities. Your RevOps team will build dashboards for the sales velocity, the amount of time that it takes to get between stages, the actual conversion rates between stages to see where people are stalling out, and then, of course, rep efficiency themselves. In this case, your definition of a qualified lead would be a sales qualified opportunity, and the triggers would be based on sales activity and qualification. Your goal as a revenue operations professional is to look at how revenue flows through this model from sessions all the way to closed revenue, and to use your GTM motion to directly tie the journey of the customer from anonymous contact to recognized revenue to clear, definable triggers. And that's the end of our revenue operations fundamental certification. Keep in mind, if all this talk about the revenue performance model and data models helped see your funnel more clearly, then diving into revenue performance modeling should be your next step. And we do have a course on that. Either way, your next goal should be to clearly establish your revenue operations foundation, to identify your business model, to start looking at where you are in your business maturity, and to clearly identify your go-to-market motions and start working your way up those building blocks of revenue operations. There's a lot to learn when it comes to revenue operations foundations. And frankly, even people who are beyond the foundations and into levels 3, 4, and 5 maturity are still learning, adapting, optimizing, and growing their strategies. Keep in mind this won't be a quick fix. Revenue operations is a long term play, it's a long journey. But I have the utmost faith in you. You're going to go out, you're going to start building your foundation, and you're going to rock it.